Welcome Taurus, to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 22nd of July for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. As last week came to a close, we had that second consecutive Capricorn full moon. But for you, that represents the ninth house, which is about higher ideals. But it can be the truth of a situation. But the Sun coming to the end of its journey in the sign of Cancer in house 3, quick communications. Now that really could have seen something crystallize for you, and it may be that the conversation was about a financial matter, because if you've been working with the help of Mars over the previous 6 weeks and investing a lot of energy and passion in something that's important to you, as Mars moved at the end of last week, that could have primed up a key conversation, discussion or big decision. But also Mars, as this week begins, forges a legendary angle to Pluto. I say legendary, not lightly, because this is the first time these two have linked in these two signs in this way for 220 years. And Pluto's cheering you on in terms of your interaction with the wider world, but maybe it's also asking you to go through some transformations, which doesn't necessarily mean they're all easy. It could be around your work, it could be around your commitment to local voluntary activities, could even be your leadership skills within a family situation. But the angle between Mars in house 2 and Pluto in house 10 is very, very strong if you do want to apply for a new job, improve those aforementioned financial situations and potentials. But the conversation that's come from that particular full moon could be flowing so much better than when the Sun initially moved into Cancer a month ago and we had the first Capricorn full moon, because that was conflicted by the dreamy energy of Neptune. And the conversation at that point may have revealed that someone you thought you could rely upon has actually ended up being anything but trustworthy. But now I feel that you will have worked this all out, and as we go into this new week, you can see the Sun on its last degree, the anaretic degree, in the sign of Cancer, which for you is feeling your communications over the last month. That's linking perfectly to Neptune. So I feel that you will have worked something out. It may mean that someone has made way in your situation, because with Saturn also in your 11th house, along with Neptune, that's the part of our chart where we feel most inspired. It's where we want to be idealistic. But it can be about our future, and it can be about our friendships and alliances. So if someone has let you down over the last month, I feel you're working it through as we start this new week. But not only does Mars forge that sensational link to Pluto, it's also going to forge a very strong and powerful link to the Sun as he moves into the sign of Leo later on Monday. For you, that joins up with Venus and Mercury. The fourth house that Leo season represents for you is very much about how you feel about things. It's about your environment. It can be about home, the property that you live in, but also it can be about your emotional relationships. Maybe the conversations you were having on the back of that full moon we're giving you some pointers about how or what you need in terms of your immediate everyday environment. So if you are thinking of renovating a property, redecorating, perhaps moving altogether, it can all speed up from this point. But the key also is the Sun goes into an opposition with Pluto. And if those professional or worldly interactions that Pluto and Mars are pushing you to grasp, it's not quite working for you. For example, you may have a job or a role which sees you successful, but it may not actually feed you in a more nurturing way in terms of your emotional dimension. And if that's something that is primed up for you, you could feel a little bit discombobulated in the early part of this week. Also, Uranus in your sign, of course, has been forging that electric conjunction with Mars recently, and they're still in touch as we come into this new week. So you may have felt quite restless recently, but Uranus is in a square with Mercury. So if there is someone in your everyday emotional world who is not really quite getting what you're wanting, or not keeping up to speed with the rapidity of your ideas, which could be very, very quick around home and emotional and family issues, that could prove to be a little bit frustrating. But I want to reassure you that by Thursday, Mercury moves into a beautiful location for you personally, because it moves into house 5 for you. Mercury here is more playful. Your sense of humour, the sense of mischief that Mercury can generate through its rulership of Gemini, can actually play out for you in the host sign of Virgo. But of course it shares your Earth triplicity, and house 5 is where you can demonstrate your creativity, flair and talents. But I feel that 4th house energy, which is still going to be going on with the Sun's help over the next month, and your ruler Venus, is encouraging you still to stay in touch with how you feel. So if there is a creative project that you'd like to work on, whether it's crafting or hobbying, or perhaps it is converting an idea that you've had or a pleasurable pursuit into something that can earn you some money, the creativity of Mercury moving into the sign of Virgo is certainly to savour. There is a complex change on Friday, however. Not least there's a quarter moon developing towards the end of this week, but then Chiron, the so-called wounded healer, goes into a retrograde in the tender 12th house. And of course you've had the North Node there since the middle of July last year. And both those influences have been stirring up a lot to do with insecurities, anxieties, anything where you feel that your identity is not really quite as complete or secure as you would like. And because of the energy manifesting in the emotional 4th house, this could be quite tender. So through to the 29th of December, I feel it's important, if you do feel that there are outstanding parts of your history or your sense of self which are not quite as robust as you would like, it would be a great time to try to work on that in a very deep way. That could be through some counselling, it could be through some self-help books, could be from downloading some of the apps that are emerging that are very much to do with psychological and emotional welfare now, but it can be very positive for you. Do see it as an opportunity. But I must stress to you, in terms of pure finance, the fact that Mars and the planet of fortune, Jupiter, are both in your 2nd house, over the next 6 weeks you can see a pickup in your earnings or your income. But as the week ends, with the quarter moon in your sign clashing with the sun, it's important not to be too impulsive. If you do feel fenced in or rather sensitive and someone's not being as available as you would like, don't make any quick decisions, because that quarter moon, which provides a backdrop into the week following this one, is quite tender, and sometimes we can do things to protect our pride, and there's no pride like the 1st house, because that's very much to do with our identity. But the 4th house, where the sun is where we can feel more vulnerable. So there's some vulnerable energies manifesting there towards the end of this week. But if you want to be more dynamic in terms of your professional interactions, Mars and Pluto and Jupiter give you a lot of support. But I think it is important to stay in touch with how you feel about things. That's the critical takeout from this week. It's been great being with you, but if you would like to have a one-to-one with me, a personal consultation, please check out my testimonials below. I don't edit these, I share them as is. Discover what other people have found working with me. If you would like to become a patron from $3 a month, I upload a lot of extra information. If you are already a Patreon, thank you so much for all your support. And if you would like to ascend beyond this zodiac forecast and embrace the power of more serious astrology, if you give me 3 pieces of personal birth data of time, date and place, or date and place if you don't know your time, I can produce for you your life roadmap report. This will give you searing insights to the patterns that are played out in your life so far, but a much more intimate understanding of how to work with those energies future forwards. In my special package of 30% off, you can also get your 12 months transits. That's the moving planets in the sky interacting with your totally unique blueprint. Also, if you know your tropical astrology, but you'd like to discover your draconic astrology based on your soul, your karmic charts, please see below for that too. The same package can be very, very different to your natal chart, but very much an eye-opener. Have a great week. Thank you for joining me, and goodbye.